Hello students, welcome back. This is Kumar. In this session we will discuss about CBSE Class 10 Civics Chapter 2 Federalism. Let's learn about the various aspects of federalism in this session. Let's start with the definition of federalism. Now let's look at into this. What is federalism? Federalism is a system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority and various constituent units of the country. Let's simplify this. Federalism, we know it's a system of government, and how the power is divided. The power is divided between the central authority and various constituent units of the country. So, what is the central authority here? The central authority means the central government or the union government. And what is this various constituent units, such as state government or local government? Okay, now let's summarize the definition again. Federalism is a system of government in which the power is divided between the central government and state government is known as federalism. Simple. So here both the central and state government should have mutual acceptance, mutual power sharing. Okay. So the definition clearly indicates that any federal country should have at least two levels of the government. Okay, let's see why it has two levels of government. One is union government, which is for the entire country. Okay, so there is a union government or central government which governs the entire country, and it's common for all the states in the country. And another one is government at the level of provinces or state or regional level. Okay, this government is for the region or the state, which looks into the day-to-day activities of the state or a particular region. Here both the government enjoy the power independently. They have independent power. Okay, so state government has the power of its own and it's not answerable to the center. That is federalism. Okay, let's revise this once again. Every federal country must have two levels of the government. Okay, one is the union government, which is common for the entire nation, and another one is state government or provincial government, which is for the regional level. Okay, and here both the state and central government have independent powers, and the state government has its own power and it's not answerable to the central government, for example USA and India. Okay, and we have seen about the federalism, and there is another form of government called unitary government. Okay, unitary government means existence of only one level of government. Federalism means at least two levels of the government must exist, whereas in unitary only one level of government will exist, and the subunits are subordinate to the central government. Compare federalism and unitary. In federalism, the subunits, the states, are not subordinated to the central government, but in unitary government all these subunits are, or the states are, subordinate to the central government. And in unitary form of government, the central government can pass orders to the local government, whereas in federalism, in some cases the central government cannot pass orders to the state government because state government has its own independent power, whereas in unitary government the subunits do not have independent power completely. They have to depend upon the central government. Okay, so the entire country is governed and run by the central government, union government. Okay, next one, let's see the features of federalism. What are the features of federalism? As we have seen the definition, it clearly shows that every federal country should have two or more levels of the government. Okay, it should have minimum two levels, central and state, and it can have more levels of the government also, more than two also it can have, like central government, state government and local government. Okay, so main feature of a federalism is that it should have two or more levels of the government, and here each level of the government has its own power or jurisdiction, own power or own authority it has. Every level, central government has its own power and state government has its own power. In the same way, the local government also have some independent powers, but it comes under the control of the state government. But whereas the central and state government has independent powers. Okay. And third one, the jurisdiction is specified by the constitution. Okay, so there is a constitutional guarantee of authority. So every federal country should have a written constitution. Okay, written constitution must be there, and in the written constitution it should be clearly specified about the jurisdiction of each levels of the government. Okay, and these constitutional provisions cannot be changed by any one level of the government. This we call as a supremacy of constitution. Okay, federal systems will have the supremacy of constitution. Here the constitutional provisions cannot be changed by any one level of the government, either by the central or state. Here we need the consent from both the levels of the government. Okay, to change any constitutional provisions, the consent of both the levels of the government is required. Okay, and if any dispute arises between the central and state government, the court will interpret. Okay, the court interprets the constitution and powers of different levels of the government, and Supreme Court acts as the umpire if dispute arises with different levels of the government. If any clash arises with the central government and the state government, the Supreme Court will act as the umpire to resolve the conflicts. Okay, then the sources of revenues. So the sources of revenues are also clearly specified in the constitution to enhance the financial autonomy to each level of the government. Okay, here we have given independent powers to the each levels of the government. Along with the independent powers, they need financial autonomy too. To ensure the financial autonomy, the source of revenue, which means what are the revenues to be collected by central government and what are the revenues to be collected by state governments, that should be clearly specified. Okay, so these are the main important features of federalism. Let's summarize it again. Federalism has two levels of the government, each level has its own power, and the jurisdiction of each level is specified in the constitution, and the constitutional provisions cannot be changed by any one level of the government. It needs a consent from both the levels of the government, and court interprets the constitution and the Supreme Court acts as an umpire if any dispute arises between the different levels of the government, and sources of revenue are clearly specified in the constitution. Okay, these are the features of federalism. Now, every federalism has some objectives. Okay, so here federalism has two main objectives, goals, aims that should be followed or protected. One is to safeguard or promote the unity of the country. So federalism should safeguard and promote the unity of the country. At the same time, it has to accommodate the regional diversity also. Let's understand this with the example of India. India has different regional diversities. Every region has its own culture and own identity. Let's take Tamil Nadu has its own culture, and Karnataka has its own culture, and Kerala has its own culture. In the same way, different North Indian states have its own cultures. Okay, so all these cultures should be respected, accommodated, and it should not distract the unity of the country. Okay, so we should promote the unity also. At the same time, we should respect or accommodate all the regional diversities. This is the most important objective of federalism, and federalism can be successful only with these two objectives. Okay, in the name of uniting the country, if we just suppress the diversities, unity cannot exist, the clashes would arise. And if in the name of accommodating the regional diversity, we should not differentiate, or we should not separate one region from another region. Okay, so we should respect the culture of every region. At the same time, we should promote the unity also. This is the objectives of federalism. Now, There are two crucial aspects of an ideal federalism. What is a perfect federalism? If any country wanted to be very successful in the federalism, it should have two aspects. One is governments at different levels should agree to some rules of power sharing. So when central government imposes something, the state government should accept. Or if state government proposes anything to the central government should accept. So there should be mutual acceptance to some rules of power sharing so that the federalism can exist. There won't be any clashes between the central government and state government. And another one is trust and agreement to live together must be there. First one, there should be mutual agreement to some rules. Both the levels of the government should agree to some rules and regulations. Second one, apart from the rules and regulations, some trust must be there between these two levels of the government. This would make the federalism more effective and successful in a country. Okay. Now, there are two types of federalism. One is coming together federalism and holding together federalism. What are the differences between these two types of federalism? Coming together federalism means the independent states come together on its own to form a bigger unit. Okay, many independent states, small independent states, they voluntarily by their own they will come together and they will join to form a bigger nation, so that it increases security by pooling sovereignty and retaining identity. So all these small independent states would join together. They would collect all their power so that they would increase their security. At the same time, they would retain their identity. For example, let's consider there are five different small independent states. Anyone can attack that independent small states because it's very small, it cannot defend from its enemy. If all these five independent states join together, their power would increase, their security would increase, no country can attack them easily, isn't it? So the small independent states will join together to form a bigger unit so that their power, the security would increase. At the same time, they will have their own culture and tradition that would not be destroyed. Okay, and here all these different small independent states will have equal power. All the constituent states will have equal power. The power will not vary from one state to another state. Okay, so the example for coming together federalism are USA, Switzerland and Australia. And holding together means a large country. Okay, let's compare coming together and holding together. In coming together, independent states will come together and they want to form a bigger unit. Okay, all these small states will join together to form a bigger nation. But whereas in holding together, the bigger nation will decide to divide its power between the constitutional units and the center. Okay, for example, India is a bigger nation. Here the power is divided between the central government and the various constitutional units, for example among the states and local government. Okay, here central government is more powerful in some cases. At the same time, state government also has complete power over some cases. Here we do not find equal powers among all the constituent units. Okay, in holding together, all the constituent units will not have equal powers. It has unequal powers. Example, India, Spain and Belgium. Okay, so let's summarize this. In coming together federalism, small independent states will come together on their own to form a bigger nation, whereas in holding together, large country decides to divide its power among the central government and the various constituent states. Okay, and in coming together, all the states joining together, they will increase their security by pooling their sovereignty and retain their identity. Here the central government is more powerful in some cases. Here all the power is not been gathered together. Central government has its own power and state government has its own power, whereas in coming together, the powers of all the government are put together. Okay, and next one, here all the states will have equal power in coming together, but in holding together, all the states do not have equal powers. Example for coming together is USA, Switzerland and Australia, whereas for holding together India, Spain and Belgium. Okay, so these are the differences between the coming together and holding together federalism. Now, whether India is a federal country. If India is a federal country, what makes India a federal country? Of course, India we can call it as a pure federal country. But what are the features that make India into a federal country? Let's see one by one. First one, our constitution has declared India as a union of states. Nowhere in Indian constitution it's mentioned that India is a federal country. It's declared that India is a union of states, but with the features of all federalism. Okay, it's declared as union of states, but it has all the features of federalism. See, three-tier federalism, which means we have union government, state government, or local government, or panchayat we call it as. Okay, which means India has more than two level of the government. Okay, so main feature of India to be called as a federal country is three-tier system. Three-tier system means three levels of government. Okay, and threefold distribution of legislative powers. Okay, here we have threefold distribution of legislative powers. Legislative power means law making powers. The law making power is divided into three, namely union list, state list, concurrent list. Okay, union list means only the central government can make laws, state government only state government can make laws, and concurrent list both the government have the power to make laws. Okay, so the legislative powers have been divided into three, namely union list, state list and concurrent list. Okay, and here all the states in Indian Union do not have identical powers. So all the states and all the provinces do not have equal powers, okay, or same powers. Example, union territories. Union territories do not exercise the powers like the state governments. Okay, so union territories comes under the control of the central government. All right, and the changes in power sharing has to be passed by 2/3 of majority in the parliament. So if any changes have to be made in the power sharing, it can be done only by the 2/3 of majority in the parliament. Okay, so in case of any dispute regarding the division of the power, the court will take the decision. Okay, so simple. If any question is asked like, do you agree India is a federal country, justify your statement. Okay, or a question would be asked, what has made India a federal country, explain with examples. India follows three-tier system and it has threefold distribution of legislative powers. Okay, and the states have independent powers. With example you can write it. Let's see that how you can give examples with explanation. Here, union list. So if any question is asked, what has made India a federal country, your answer should include this threefold distribution of legislative powers. Okay, this make India successful federalism. This makes, okay, so union list. What is a union list? Union list includes the subjects of national importance. Okay, union list means there are some subjects which is common for entire nation. Okay, only the central government can make laws in this union list. For example, defense, banking, currency, foreign affairs and communication. All these things are common for the entire nation. Let's take currency. We follow the same currency throughout the country, isn't it? So it's not different from one state to the another state. So it's common for the entire nation. So it comes under the union list, and only the central government make any decisions or any laws related to this union list. Okay, and state list. State list includes the subjects of local and state importance. It deals about the day-to-day activities within the state. So in the subjects of state list, only the state government can make the laws. Okay, only the state government alone can make the laws. Central government cannot interfere in the subjects of state list. For example, police, trade, commerce, agriculture, and irrigation. In all these subjects, only the state government has the complete power to make any laws. Okay, the central government cannot interfere in this. And third one, concurrent list. Concurrent list includes the subjects of common interest for both the center and state. So here both center and state can frame laws. Okay. Example, education, forest, trade union, marriage, adoption and succession. In all these subjects, both central government and state government can make laws. Okay, this is the threefold distribution of legislative powers. This is how our legislative powers have been divided into three: union list, state list, and concurrent list. Okay, so if you get any question what has made India a federal country, you can write first India follows the three-tier system, that is central government, state government, and local government, and along with this you should write about the threefold distribution of legislative powers so that you would get full marks. Okay, now apart from this union list, state list, and concurrent list, there is one more thing called residuary powers. Okay, residuary powers are the subjects which do not fall under any of the three list. Okay, the residuary powers do not come under union list or state list or concurrent list. Okay, so it would be asked for one more question, what are residuary powers? Residuary powers includes the subjects which do not fall under any of the three list. Example, you can see the picture, what it shows: software and technology. Okay, the software and computer technology comes under the residuary powers. Okay, it does not fall under any of the three list. So union government has the power to make laws related to these things. Okay, why it's not included in any of the three list? Because this software and computer technology keeps on changing and developing, and these came after the framing of constitution. That's why it's kept under residuary subjects, and only the central government or union government has power to make the laws related to these residuary subjects. Okay, now how does India practice power sharing? India practice power sharing by adapting some strategies, some measures or methods. Let's see what are those methods through which India practice power sharing. One is by creating linguistic states. Linguistic states means creating the states based on the language, which made the administration easier. Okay, and language policy. So India follows a language policy in which no language is given high priority, or we don't have the status of national language. Okay, we treat all the languages, or we give equal importance to all the languages, and we have two official languages. We will discuss about this in detail in the next session. Just we will get introduced with these topics. And restructuring of power sharing between the center and state, which means the relationship between the center and state ensures the power sharing. And as we have discussed already, the threefold distribution of legislative powers. So how does India practice power sharing? By creating the linguistic states, by adopting a proper language policy, and with the proper center and state relation, and threefold distribution of legislative powers. These are the things that ensure the practice of power sharing and the existence of effective federalism in India. Okay, so about the further topics we will discuss in the next session. Thank you.